up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So today's video I came up with because I see a lot of you guys in my comment section always asking me questions about getting your first horse or looking at a horse or how much things cost or just like all kinds of stuff that you guys are always asking me about your first horses. And I think a lot of my viewers are people that are looking to get their first horse or have their first horse and just need all the advice. So I figured that this video could be very helpful and useful to a lot of you guys. And I know, like, in the past when I was doing all of this stuff and just getting started, like, I had to learn how to budget hardcore at like 12 years old. So to make it a little easier on you guys just starting out, I figured I would give you some pro tips on budgeting for your horse. So first things first is where you're going to keep a horse. So you can't even have a horse if you don't have somewhere to put it. So if you are going to keep your horse at home, or if you're going to board your horse, keep it at a relative's, like, you got to figure that out before you even start looking. Before you even want a horse, you have to have somewhere to keep one. So budget accordingly to your, what do I want to say, living expenses of the horse. Just your basic living expense of having the horse. So if you're going to keep your horse at home where you're not going to have to pay anything, awesome. If you're going to keep it at a relative's and pay just a little bit or maybe nothing, then awesome. But if you're going to board, you got to budget that. So my advice would be to find a place to board before you even get a horse or start looking for horses. Have an idea of where you're going to board. Talk with local barns or places that offer boarding, and see where has empty places and where you're going to be keeping the horse based on your budget. So you have to know the board rates that are average for your area. I know some places, because you guys tell me in the comments all the time that an average for board is like $800, and that is nuts if you ask me. That's very expensive for board. But for my area, the average for board is like $300 to $400. So you have to know what the average rate for board is and where you're going to keep your horse, outside or inside, because stall board is going to be more expensive, of course. I don't recommend stall board. I believe in pastures, but you have to figure that out. So I would shoot for, depending on your area, say around here for pasture board is like $200 a month is pretty average for that. So that's in my area in Iowa though. So you have to figure out what the common average board rate is for where you live and start with that. Like, that is the minimum that you need to make a month just to even have your horse, is to be able to pay the board. So if your board costs $400 a month, make sure that you are making $400 a month, at least. Well, then you gotta buy the horse. So when you're buying a horse, I mean, you can get a horse for free, or you can get a horse for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, you have to know what you're looking for, and you have to have your goals in mind. So what kind of rider do you want to be? Do you want to be a jumper? Do you want to be I don't know, Western pleasure? Like, do you want to show your horses? Do you want to just have horses because you love your horses and you want to just ride on your own time, go on trail rides? Like, what kind of rider do you want to be? Because that is all going to depend on what type of horse you're going to want to buy. You have to look into the horse's breed. If you want to be a jumper, look at horses that are good for jumping, like thoroughbreds and warm bloods and all those athletic, agile horses, because all of this stuff that I'm going to talk about is going to affect the breed. So find yourself the breed that you want. Papers. Look as if the horse is papered. If you care about papers, that's one thing. If you don't, usually horses that don't have papers or were never registered are a little bit cheaper, but if you want a horse with papers, then that's your own decision. The level of training that the horse has is very important. So if you're a total beginner and you haven't ridden very much, I mean, I don't advise total beginners to buy horses, but like, if you haven't ridden that much, if you're taking lessons and you want your own horse, but you're not like an intermediate level, you don't want a horse that has no training unless you have an instructor that's willing to work with you and your horse. But know what type of training level you want. Do you want a green horse? Do you want a deadhead, dead broke, been there, done that? Do you want a show horse? Like, I mean, there's a lot of horses that they may be broke as hell to do Western pleasure, but have never been on a trail in their life, or have never been in a parade in their life, have never been to a show. Like, you have to just know what training level the horse has, because all of this is going to depend on whether the horse is $500 or if it's $10,000. So know what type of rider you want to be and what you want to pursue in horses, and what type of equestrian are you going to be. And then you have to start saving, and you have to budget for how much money you're going to put away every month and how much money you can borrow or whatever to get the horse of your dreams. Horse care, I already talked about the board. So if you want to be, you know, a high level, if you want to be going into showing and all that good stuff, like going for the gold, then you're going to want a higher level facility. So if you don't have the money to afford a higher level facility, you have to keep that in mind. It's all going to depend on how nice your barn is. That also affects the level of your board rates. So it's not just the care of the horse. Like, if your barn has an indoor arena, an outdoor arena, a round pen, pastures, stall, automatic water, like all of that comes into play when it comes to how expensive the board is as well. So if you just are looking for like a small farm that you can kind of ride around in and just ride your horse for fun, you're probably not going to be looking at very expensive board. But if you want to be like big bucks, big into showing, going all over to shows, expensive horse, then you're going to probably have some expensive board, because you're going to want an arena. You're going to want an indoor heated arena to practice all year long. You're going to want trails, like all kinds of different stuff. There's all kinds of different barns out there, and you just have to look around and figure out what best fits your budget as well as your goals, because you can't really reach your goals if you have nowhere to properly practice, or just not a proper facility for what your needs are. And the care included, that's a big thing also. I mean, if you are keeping your horse at a relative's farm for free, well, nothing's ever really free, just so you know. You're going to have to probably buy hay and grain, especially if your horse needs grain. I mean, there's one thing if your horse doesn't need it and does fine without it, but if your horse needs it, you have to budget for how much hay you're going to buy. Do you need to get the hay delivered? If you don't have a truck and trailer or anything and people have to bring you the hay, that's an extra delivery fee. How much is your grain going to cost every month? So all things to keep in mind. If you are boarding at one of the higher level facilities, what's all included in it? Do they provide hay and grain? Are they paying somebody to clean a horse's stall every day? All that different type of stuff. So if you're somewhere in between, or it could be either end of the spectrum. So know all the care included in your board. And does the barn offer lessons? Because if you are taking lessons, then you have to budget that into your income also. So if you are planning to take lessons at your facility, you know, you have to factor in the board plus the lessons. Next is necessities. So you have to budget for what you have to have for your horse. Like I said, somewhere to keep it, but also the basic necessary care that your horse needs, such as deworming. I deworm my horses twice a year, so that's like $60 a year that I pay to deworm my horses. But some barns, if you're boarding at like a big facility and they've got all different horses coming in and out of their facility all the time, if they've got rescues and, you know, people spending the night, they've got all kinds of stuff. If they hold shows at their barn, there's going to be a lot of horses and a lot of different germs and all kinds of stuff floating around that barn. So they might make you deworm your horse every other month. So you just have to budget that and know how much it's going to cost you for those things. My barn is small. We don't have a lot of horses, and usually it's just our friend's horses. So the barn owner isn't, you know, on me all the time about worming. I do it twice a year, so works for us. Vaccines. So your horses do need vaccines, which it can vary from your different vet's offices. For me, it's about $60, $65 per horse when I get vaccines every year, and I get the rabies, West Nile, Lyme disease, and the equine rhino vaccine. So that's about 4 different vaccines for each horse. So it all depends on your vet's office and how much your vet charges, and as well as if your vet comes out to do the shots, or if you are able to administer the shots yourself. Make sure you know how to do that and learn from a professional before you do it yourself, because you can kill your horse if you don't do it properly. But you know, that's going to cost extra for your vet to come out to do it, so just be prepared for that. Trimming. I had somebody comment on one of my videos asking about hoof trimming and how much it would cost every month, and honestly, it so depends on your horse. I mean, my horses, they don't need trimmed every month. Like every 6 weeks or so, my horses need a trim, and I'm able to do that myself, but obviously don't just chop off your horse's hooves. Get a professional. So if your horse has really slow growing, really hard hooves, you might be able to go 8 weeks. If your horse doesn't, if you have a pony that hooves grow like crazy, you might have to do it every month. Like it just depends. So that's all going to depend on your horse. But I would say $30 to $40 is an average. That's pretty normal for a hoof trim. So I would plan on every 6 weeks, but it could change once you get your horse. Just be prepared. Salt. Salt is really cheap. You can get salt blocks, like little ones for your horse's stall. They're like $3, or you can get a 50-pound huge one for like $7. But that's like a really cheap expense, so I wouldn't stress about that too much, but you know, count it in as well. So salt blocks, minerals, that type of thing. And your hay. Like I said, if you're going to be buying your own hay, you have to budget that in. Same with grain. If you buy your own horse's grain, you have to budget that. Alright, so the next thing that is a big expense that a lot of people worry about is tack. So if you plan to be riding your horse or driving your horse or whatever you're going to do with it, you have to be prepared to buy the specific tack that's going to go with your sport. Harnesses, like if you're planning to drive your horse, harnesses are expensive. Like save your money for a harness, because those are costly. However, if you're gonna ride your horse, you know, like I said, determine what type of rider you want to be. If you want to be the go for gold, go to every show in the state, travel hours for shows, $10,000 horse or more, like you're gonna be looking at more expensive tack, of course. So, but if you are kind of like me, I just trail ride my horses, do a fun show once in a while, parades, like you don't need a brand new expensive tack for that type of stuff. Like just to pleasurely ride your horse, you definitely don't need super expensive brand new tack. I know not a lot of people are on Facebook anymore, but if you have Facebook, go search your Facebook, you know, put in your search bar and search like, horse tack your town. Like there are so many Facebook pages and groups on Facebook with thousands of people selling tack left and right, or trading it, or just used, you know, you mostly used, like they sell their used tack and trade and all kinds of stuff. So if you're looking for like used stuff that's not going to cost an arm and a leg, definitely try that. You could try Craigslist, ask around your barn if people are selling stuff. Like that helps save so much money. I actually buy a lot of stuff off of Facebook and people on Facebook. I see all the time people selling saddles for $200 or $300, bridles that are used that they're selling for $25 or something, like cheap, like good quality stuff. Like it's usable, there's nothing wrong with it or broken about it, but like they don't need it anymore, so they're selling it online, and there's nothing wrong with that. You could try eBay. Just ways to save money if you don't want brand new expensive tack. If you do, definitely put money aside and save for that, because brand new saddles, especially like the really nicely jumping saddles, like all those nicely made ones, they can get up into the thousands of dollars. So You gotta know what you want. Actually, a girl at my barn, her show saddle is worth $5,000. That's how much she paid for it. So just depends on how high a level you want to go with showing, if you want to show your horse. And if you go into showing, you're going to have to budget for show clothing. So if you want to show, know what you want to show in, know what clothes you need to buy. You can also find, like I said, on those Facebook groups, people sell their show clothes all the time and show saddle pads and bridles and everything, like everything. I have 2 show shirts. I have one that I bought for, actually, one I bought for $15 and one I bought for $20 because I bought them from a friend. Someone was selling them online. They were cheap. I bought them. But if you want brand new, you're going to have to budget for that because brand new show shirts for like Western Pleasure, I think my barn owner said she spent $1,100 on a shirt once. And that's nuts. In my opinion, I could never do that. That's not even in the realm of my imagination to do that. But if you're capable of doing that and that's what you want, you have to budget that. If you just want some clothes to throw on for fun shows, little local shows, definitely try the Facebook groups, Craigslist, you know, whatever, for show clothing. People are selling it all the time. Obviously, your necessity, your halter and lead rope. I would say halters honestly can range. I wouldn't spend more than $20 on a halter. I know some people spend like $30, $40 on a halter. Like, you don't need to spend that much. I work at Tyson's, which is a store in Iowa, and we have halters for $13. Perfectly good usable halters. And lead ropes are around the same price. So, I mean, that's a cheap expense as well, but obviously always budget that in because you can't really do much with a horse without your halter and lead rope. And then you have to budget in your other items that, like I said, you can find these used as well, or if you want to buy new, like your brushes, your shampoos, like that type of stuff. Cheap, small expenses, but obviously if you're saving for your first horse, you know, budget, I don't know, I would say like $20, $25 for your brushes and for your, you know, I don't know, a bottle of horse shampoo, like just the small stuff like that, vet wrap. And then also, if you plan to go big, or honestly, even if you're not, even if you're just a small person, if you ever want to leave your farm with your horse, you're going to have a trailer. If somebody lets you borrow their trailer, freaking awesome, take the opportunity. But it's nice to just have your own trailer. So obviously if you're young, don't worry about it. But like, if you ever want to leave or go off your property with your horse, you know, you're going to want to budget for a trailer, and especially a truck. Like, you can't pull a trailer without a truck. So budget for a truck and trailer if you're at the age where you can haul and drive your horse. If you're young, don't worry about it. Or if there's people at your barn that haul to shows or are willing to haul you wherever, like, that's really nice as well. So a truck and trailer is kind of one of those things that can wait. But always, I would keep it in mind for later, for down the road, once you've got, you know, your horse paid off, you've got all the stuff that you need, and you're not having to buy any more stuff. Keep in mind, like, one day, you should probably save for a truck and trailer, just in case you need to trailer your horse anywhere, or just if you want to go riding somewhere. If you want to go to a show, or if you want to go on a trail ride somewhere, you're going to need a trailer. Obviously, new versus used with the trailers. Yeah, you're definitely going to have to budget if you want a new trailer and probably finance it. Brand new trailers can be really expensive, so, but if you're just looking for like a stock trailer that you can just throw your horse in and go somewhere, those are not near as expensive. You don't need, like, never think that you need to have a living quarter trailer, like a 4-horse slant. I mean, you don't need that. I mean, if you want that and you've got the money for it, go for it, boo. But if you are just, you know, saving for your horse and wanting to know how much to save, like, or just trying to kind of do things efficiently but affordably, you definitely don't need to have a brand new ass trailer. My trailer that I bought was $1,400, and I put probably $600 worth of repairing and updating into it. So I spent around $2,000 on it. That's not that bad. My first trailer that I ever bought was $700, and we did put new tires on it, but that was my Christmas gift, so altogether it was like $1,000. You can find inexpensive trailers, but you know, just be prepared. You know, it might need repairs, it might be rusty. Like, my trailer is very rusty, but you know what? Fuck it. It works. I can go places with my horses, and I would rather have, always remember, a good analogy for any of you first-time horse people, most people would rather have $10,000 horses walking out of a $500 trailer rather than $500 horses walking out of a $10,000 trailer. So who cares what your stuff looks like? And I think it's important to remember in the horse world that you don't have to be perfect. All horse people are different. Like, don't put yourself down in the horse world if you can't have the nicest of things. Like, I started from dirt, from like nothing, absolutely nothing. My dad bought me my horses when I was 7 years old, and I had nothing. Like, I had cheap saddles that we got off of Craigslist, and we had no trailer. I had used crappy stuff, like, but it worked, and I got where I am now. And even still, like, my truck and trailer aren't the nicest. My tack isn't the nicest ever, but you know what? My horses are happy. I'm happy. You don't have to have the nicest things ever. You don't have to have brand new stuff. It all depends on what type of rider you are, what type of horseman you are, and how you treat your animals at the end of the day. So, just a little pep talk there for you. But I hope this video gave you guys like stuff in mind to write down, or, you know, if you figure out all of your expenses, your board, your hoof trimmings, your worm or your vaccine, put it all together and know how much you need to have for this year, or, you know, whatever. For the first year that you have your horse, how much you're going to need. Because if you need to go buy a load of hay, factor that in also. And yeah, so I hope this helped some of you guys keep in mind what you need for your first horses. I wish you all the best of luck horse shopping. If you haven't seen my video about horse shopping, make sure to check it out. I'll leave it up here, one of these corners. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know what else you want to see down in the description box, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.